Hello, Silver!
Hey, we are here. We're not Silver, the Lone Ranger, or Tonto, but we are Dave and Steve, the Mule Man and the Mule Guy. All right, we're going to be talking mules and donkeys for the next hour. And as I like to say, we are your theme park tour guides into the theme park of the mule and the donkey, the Cadillac of the equine world. And we sure are glad that you are here spending a little bit of time with us. Every single Tuesday, we get together to talk, and there's really only three things we need from you. Really, truthfully, we could get away with two of them, but we really want all three. First, we want to know your name, where you're watching from, and what the weather is like today. And you might say, Dave, I just want to be a lurker. I just want to watch. I don't want to have to type anything in. I don't want to have to say nothing. And you know what? I get that. I really do understand it. But I'll tell you what. The reason why we ask is because you are valuable, you matter, you are important, you are created unlike anyone else, and we want to say hello to you, gosh darn it. So put your name, where you're watching from, and what the weather's like in the chat section so that we can say hello and be happy that you are here spending a little bit of time with us. And if you have been a lurker all these months, all these weeks, all these years, now's your time to shine. The second thing we ask is that you share any and every mule or donkey question that you got. Why? Because it should be rewarding. It should be enjoyable. It should be relaxing to be able to walk out there and spend time with your mule or with your donkey. We don't want you to feel like you got to turn in the halter, so to speak, and just hang it up on the wall because you lost your patience and it's just killing you from the inside out. No, 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 no. This needs to be an escape, something that allows you to experience life more fully. So ask the questions so we can help you gain the trust of your animals, get results when you get out there and get to work, and you enjoy what it is. And the third thing we ask is that you share the broadcast with friends and family. We're uniting people. We're uniting brothers. We're uniting sisters. We're uniting parents all around the mule and the donkey. And if folks found out on Thanksgiving that you've been holding out from them, not telling them about the Ask Steve program, well, hopefully there wasn't too much of an explosion there, and we've got to set things straight before Christmas. Steve, it has been a whole week since we got together. What have things been like out there on the ranch? It's been busy, I think.
Well, we just got a lot of odds and end things. We decorate the house a lot. Uh, and then it's just Susan and I and Jess. And of course, Jess, he organizes us and tells us which way to go. Arf, 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 arf. Hey, you know what Jess told me the other day? What happens when a dog sits on sandpaper? What does he say? I said, Jess, what did he say? He said, rough.
All day, folks. All day, every day. That is a dad joke right there, Steve. That's a big dad joke. Hey, you know what? I wonder if I ask Jess what's on top of a house if he'd be able to tell me.
Oh, yeah, he knows that one, rough.
Yeah, roof. Yeah. Who's
And
the
he's
better?
not here. I'm hiding in the motorhome, and I forgot to bring him in here.
He's
So
up
he's
at the
not going to
top.
be happy
He's
with me.
he's freaking out right now because he's not hearing the music. Every
Yeah.
single time Jess hears that music, he starts going nuts. Well, folks, Jess isn't here, but we are, so we'll do our best to hold down the fort, answer some mule and donkey questions. It sure is good to have you here. Steve, before we get into our first question, I want to talk about something you've got coming up here. Come April, why don't you tell us what's happening April 3rd and through the 6th?
I've gone all over the United States and done training seminars, expos. I can't even keep track of the ones that I've done. But anyway, I've always wanted to go to Columbia, Tennessee for the Columbia Mule Days. I understand it is outstanding. And they have wagon mules there. Oh, there they are. They have wagon mules there. They have riding mules there. They have mules that want to buck you off there. Yeah, a little bit of everything. Anyway, I got an invitation 2 years ago to come to the Mule Days, and I couldn't make it because I was going down to Argentina. So they come back again this year, and they says, "Would you come to the Mule Days? We'll do whatever we got to do to help you out to make sure you go." So man, I'm going to do clinics. I'm going to have a big tent there with all of my saddles and tack, and I will be there to answer all your questions. And if I can't get the questions answered by me, I'll call the mule guy up, and the mule guy will get the questions answered. He's getting pretty sharp, but he can cut himself someday. He's so sharp.
So that's coming up April 3rd through 6th. But
Yep.
folks, you don't have to wait all the way until April for an incredible opportunity, once in a lifetime, big, grand event coming up December 18th. We're actually
Yep.
doing our next online clinic. It's a webinar, one of them newfangled webinars. We're going to be talking about how to train your mule or your donkey on your own. You are more qualified than you think you are. Steve, tell
Yep.
them what we're going to be covering in this event on the 18th. It's free, by the way, absolutely free. Steve, tell the
The
folks what
F
we're going to be
bomb.
covering.
Yeah. So you were saying in the very beginning, you're getting into this to have fun. You're getting into this to get away from the world, and to come away from everyday yuck, to come down to peace and quiet and things like this. Here's the thing, folks. Uh, Most people just, unfortunately, just think about riding the mule, and that's all. And yeah, you can have kind of a relationship with it and this sort of thing. But listen, fixing the problems that your mules have, you can do it yourself. Okay. I've got pictures after pictures, videos after videos of people doing it themselves. Okay. Don't take it to some wannabe trainer. I tell you what, I'm so frustrated listening to people who say, "Man, Steve, I went and took it to this trainer for 90 days, for 30 days, whatever. And he come back, and the mule, I couldn't do anything with him. You know? Well, yeah, here, folks, let me ask you something. Why? You know, why go and give it to somebody you don't really know? Yeah, you seen him ride him and stuff, but this one lady, she sent this mule off, and she just was so hopeful to come back, and she couldn't even touch the mule. You know, she went there and she rode the mule a time or two, but that's all. Listen, folks, did you hear the words? Rode it a time or two. That's not getting to know that mule. No, on the ground. Okay? Not on the predator on top. On the ground, get to know the mule. Using that come along rope. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to challenge you. When I go to Columbia Mule Days, I'm going to tell you easily, 80% of the people that I work with, as soon as I hand them a come along rope or a lead line, they're going to start making mistakes right off the bat. And you're going to make mistakes, okay? But if you can't use a lead rope or a lead line correctly, you're in trouble, okay? And believe me, that's your best communicator you can have is your lead rope. So yeah, it's going to be a great clinic. I'm gonna show you all kinds of stuff. I've got a video with 5 people that have never started a colt before, never rode a colt before, and you'll see all 5 of them. Remember this video, Dave? It's a good one. See all 5 of them riding their mules for the first time.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I really enjoy these. If you have never participated in one of these events before, you really are missing out. And the best part is the only barrier to entry is you just got to register. It's free to register, it's free to participate. All we ask is that you tell us
Close the
where we
door
can
if you
send your
can.
invitation. So if you click the link in the comment section, how to train your mule, you're more qualified than you think. Register, you'll get the confirmation information. And then once you got that, sit tight until December 18th, and we'll get you live. That's what we're gonna do. I think I just lost Steve. I wonder if his battery died. So while Steve is coming back in, I want to say hello. There he is, right there.
All of a sudden, I was shut up.
Oh man, oh man, the technology was coming after you, but you just beat it back.
Yeah, I know somebody.
That's right. All right, I want to say hello to Leslie, watching from Decatur, Illinois. 24 and cloudy, snow, beautiful winter day. Polly is watching from Barnesville, Minnesota. 26 and sunny. Just finished Bernie Herbert's book, Two Mules to Triumph. I really enjoyed it. Anyone who has had a mule named Polly gets my vote for sure. Bernie is awesome. We've had him on the program a couple times. I'll put a link to one of our conversations here in a few minutes. He's just fantastic, and so glad you were able to pick that up and read that, Polly. Good for you. Rory is watching from Southwest Ohio, 29 degrees. Howdy, y'all. Howdy, right back to you. Linda is watching from Portal, Arizona, 63. My new mini donkey mother hates me because I had to give her 5 days of penicillin shots shortly after their arrival. The son is 3 months old. Will she ever forgive me? Steve.
Yes, she will. All right, now here, let me ask you something. When you gave the penicillin shots, did you give it in a different spot every day, or did you do the same spot?
That's the question right there.
Right, right. All right, now here's the next thing. My very good friend, Dr. Robert Miller, who just passed away here this last month, 16th, matter of fact, um, he would always say, Steve, I never give the shots myself. And he said, and this is a veterinarian. He says, I always let one of my veterinarian friends do it because then the mule could hate him. And I said, hey, Bob, are you giving the shot in the same place in the neck every day? He says, well, yeah. And I said, there's the problem. See, he's going jugular. I want to go intermuscular, okay, when you're doing your penicillins and this sort of thing. So you can go the neck, the hip, and this sort of thing. But here's the key part, okay? You see my hand? This is the neck over here. You are on the left-hand side of your mule. So that's the side you get on. You put your hand up there like this. This part goes against the neck, and you give your shots right in here. No place else on the neck because there's less veins right here. So put your hand up there. Your saddle's right back here. All right. So you put your hand on the neck, give your shots right in there. Give one shot there. Go back and give one on the hip, on the left side. On the right side, give it on the hip. And on the right part of the neck, give it on the hip. And then that way you go 3 days later or 4 days later, you come right back to the neck again, you're done. So I don't know how many cc's you're doing now. Here's the other thing. When you're giving your shots, are you just using the needle and putting it in there, letting it wait to make sure it's not blood, and then giving your syringe after that? So there's a couple questions, okay? Are you giving it in the same place? And are you doing it with the whole syringe or just the needle itself?
So for your first question, she says she's doing different side of the neck.
Different side of the neck, okay? So it's doing right or left. I suggest you do it on the hip, okay? Kind of in the middle of the hip. And that way you can do the neck, the hip, the hip, the neck, and then you're back around the neck again the next day. But when you do it in the same place, they get bullet shy. So you want to do it in a different part of the body each time, okay?
Awesome. Great. Linda, if you have any follow up questions, be sure to let us know. Thanks for taking the time to ask and appreciate that. Deborah is watching, says they had mule days here in Tennessee last month. So, hey, Deborah, you could get a double dosage here. Get yourself out to Columbia, Tennessee, and you will have the double dosage of the mule days. Good to have you here, Deborah. Bill is sharing to Mules of Ohio and Mules of Indiana. Cowboy Ken says, good day, guys. 31 degrees, BEA, beautiful here in Connecticut. Cam is watching from an oil rig in the Gulf of Mexico where it is sunny and 67. You know what? That
Well,
right
Rick,
there, international. We'll call that international. International waters. David Pengelly is watching. Cool, 24 degrees today. Sunny and beautiful.
come along,
Dave,
coffee.
hey, there we go. Coffee by David. Dave O'Brien is watching from East Texas, where it's 63 and breezy. Linda followed up and said, Steve, it was finished 2 weeks ago, but she still distrusts me.
Yeah, okay. So this is what I would do. All right. I would start using the come along hitch on her consistently. Okay. Go up. Yeah, she's going to be a little offish. Okay. But go up and use the come along hitch. Now, all right, everybody listen up. The best way to a mule or donkey's distrustful time when it comes down to something like this, especially, get this now, I hate to say this, is through a carrot. Yeah. Okay. Now, you all know I don't like feeding by hand, it can be a horrible mess. But this is what I would do. I would give her about a half a carrot, and she's going to see me give her the carrot. She's going to smell it. I may even drop it on the ground. Go do it. Once she starts coming to me looking for that carrot, I no longer do it from my arm's length to hand it out. Now I hand it toward her esophagus, and she has to back away from me to get it. Do you see that? Does that make sense to you? Okay. So I don't like doing that. Okay. But in this case here, she'll probably get to looking forward to you, because here's the problem. If you pat her on the neck or something like this, she's going to be really ouchy. So that's a good one that all of you all can remember.
Awesome. Thank you, Linda. Sherman is here, Norman, Oklahoma, 50 degrees, up here at the Wichita Wildlife Refuge, Oklahoma elk hunting. I got drawn after 30 years of putting in for the draw. How about that, Steve? That's fun.
Oklahoma's got elk. Well, good for them. Congratulations. That's a good deal. I got elk too, but they're about 100 miles away up here.
Good for you, Sherman. That's awesome. Be sure and keep us in the loop and let us know, Steve. I wanted to ask you. Alt sent in a question. Says, how much does it roughly cost a month for one mule? I know that numbers can vary, but I'm looking for a broad idea. What would you say to Alt?
All right, so a broad idea would be roughly about $80 a month. All right. Now, that's going to depend upon how much are you using them and how much are they standing. All right. Because using them, you're going to be feeding them different, i.e., you're going to be feeding them a whole oat compared to them standing, where you're going to be feeding them less. Now, hay is always more costly than pellets, and pellets gives you more value for your money because it has vitamins and minerals in it when you have the right pellet. So go to my website and read the article "Mules Can't Stand Prosperity," and you can also watch some other stuff on feed. But that's in general. Do not put them on a pasture. Okay, if you want to cripple your mule with grass founder, go do that. Okay, don't. Otherwise, feed them according to what they need.
So beyond feed, is there anything else that he needs to be contemplating?
Yeah, you want to think about shoeing and trimming every 8 weeks to 6 weeks, depending on the animal, and so that's going to run you about $125, about every 2 to 3 months. Um, and it kind of depends on if it's shoeing or if it's corrective shoeing. Most of the time, it's corrective shoeing because the mules their feet are contracted. So you'll have that as well. You will have your yearly vaccines, which is a 5-in-1. It's an Eastern Western encephalitis, and this sort of thing, and tetanus. So you can depend upon that too, and you can do most of this stuff yourself. Okay, you don't have to. You can go down to local local feed store, and you can get about any of your vaccines that you need, and they're pretty simple to do.
Awesome. That's great. Thanks so much, Alt. Appreciate that. Lane says, Steve, your comments on a mule packer said that he had to go through a lot of mule to make a good packing string. Do you know what he's talking about there, Steve?
Yeah. Now, is this Lane up in Washington?
Lane Thomas.
Lane Thomas. Yeah, yeah. Hey, Lane, give me a call when you get a chance. I need to visit with you. Anyway, I've been thinking about you. Anyway, here's the deal. Okay. Uh, so the question is about packing, making a good packing mule. All mules can really make good packing mules because they're very good about bracing into the amount of weight and this sort of thing. Okay, they're very good about not hitting trees and this sort of thing once they start getting the directive on it. But that come along hitch is the best way to make a packing mule. Okay, always have your mule with the least experience is going to be right here on your offside, and you're going to be able to train it, having the other mules behind and this sort of thing. So, but anyway, give me a call, my brother. Hopefully that answers your question.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Deborah says it's 26 degrees in Tennessee. Good to have you here, Deborah. Lo
All
has
right.
the question here. Are mules really more stubborn to develop a relationship with, or trust? What would you say to Lo?
No, for one thing, Lo, I've never met a stubborn mule. People have given that designation to these mules over the years, but the biggest problem is the lack of communication between you and that mule. Okay, most people just want to be a mountain lion on a mule. They want to move too fast and this sort of thing on them. Keep this in your mind, folks. Every move is a picture. As you move your hands around, move your head around, looking down around, every time you do that, you are communicating to your mule. All right. So let me give you a little story. I'm in Pennsylvania, and I probably have about 25 people around me right now, and they're listening. It's on a Friday night, so we're just getting started. So this lady, I said, all right, how can I help you all? And she comes up to me and she says, this mule is stubborn, just like my husband. I said, well, that's interesting. So tell me why. So she climbs on the mule and she rides off. She goes maybe about 40, 50 yards. The mule turns around and comes back. She tries to stop it. She tries to uh, turn it. She can't do anything with it. So she says, see that? This mule is stubborn, just like my husband. So I said, oh, okay. So I said, let me have that mule. So I changed my bridle. I put my mule rider's martingale on. I adjusted the stirrups, and I climbed on the mule and I rode off. Now listen, do you hear what I just done? I adjusted the stirrups so that they'd fit me, and I put my bridle on because I knew that I could communicate well with my martingale. So we went off. All right. I went past the place that the mule turned around. The mule just kept on going straight. So I started to go up a hill. She says, oh, don't go up that hill. That mule will run on the way back down. I went up the hill and the mule come down nice and quiet. Oh, don't go over by that trailer and that horse, because my mule don't like that horse. I went over by, y'all see what I done? I rode the mule everywhere she said I could not ride it. Yeah. So I come back, and everybody's all excited. Wow, look, Steve already trained that mule. That mule goes anywhere now, you know. So she's all happy and this sort of thing. She climbs on that mule. She adjusts the stirrups up, put her bridle back on, and she rides off. She goes about 30, 40 yards, and the mule turns around and comes right back. Same thing. She says, see that? This mule's stubborn just like my husband. I said, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. What we have here is the failure to communicate. You're trying to use your hands only, and you need to use from your waist down. You need to use your legs. You need to use your spurs in order to communicate correctly. And then your hands need to be directing as well. So it's not a matter of stubborn, folks. It's a matter of you do not have the communication value to communicate with the mule.
Great. Thanks so much. Appreciate that, Lo. Let's see. Clay is watching, says, Steve, what do you recommend on how to handle all the mountain bikes that are now showing up on the state parks in Texas? I've had several bikers actually go too fast and slide into my mule. That's a bummer. Steve, any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm afraid, partner, that there's no such thing as desensitizing. Okay, and there's you there's no way you're going to be able to take care of all these bikers because most of them are only thinking about going 9-0. I tell you what I do. I don't go on the trails where all the people are. All right. I go cross country. That's what I do. If I know that there's a heavy trail with heavy people and heavy bike trails and stuff, I find another place to be. Now, let me just give you a little example. Okay. I'm in the house with my wife of 56 years. All right. She knows I'm in the house. She's in the kitchen and she's just in her element, cooking and just having a wifely day. All right. And all of a sudden I come in and I said, honey, ah, okay. Well, she knows I'm in the house. She knows my voice, but she was all in her moment and I took her out of her moment for a split second. That happens with your mules. You are not going to take out what God put in that mule called flight because of fright. You're not going to take it out. It's going to have to be you, the rider. You're right. You're right. There's a lot of idiots out there on them bicycles. And when you see them coming, go off the trail, give them room, turn the mule sideways, not straight on, sideways, so that you can control either the left eye or the right eye. All right? And when the mule says, I'm concerned, take your hands and roll your hands and go right, left, right, left. Right brain, listen to me. Left brain, listen to me. Right brain. And you're going to get them to relax and come back to you. But if you pull on both reins, you're going to have that mule even more worried because now they can feel that pressure through them reins and they're really worried. Okay? Relax. Go right, left, right, left. Now, let me give you another example. I'm riding a really nice mule. I mean, this mule's like 24, 25 years old. And I'm down to the La Cienega Ranch and we're moving some cows. Okay. And this mule has been, when I've been there, done that, mules. All right. Knows cows, knows dogs, knows rattlesnakes. I've seen all this stuff. All right. I'm riding along. And then all of a sudden, my border collie comes up out of the brush he catches my mule off guard. The mule jumps in the air and goes to bucking. Man, I was able to stay on it. I grabbed my night latch, stayed with him, and then rode off. Now, that mule had already seen my dog a lot of times because I usually call my dog back at different times and take him back out again. I'll bring him in and I'll take him back out again. So that mule seen my dog coming. But see, that mule got off guarded because all of a sudden my dog come out of nowhere. Okay. So again, once that happened, okay, I immediately went right, left, right, left, right, left, immediately. Right brain, listen to me, left brain, listen to me. And then once the mule needed to start settling down, I started rolling my hands nice and quietly. So, I know it's tough, partner. I've been at the Grand Canyon, and you think those mules seen thousands of people every day, okay? They see people everywhere, all the time. And you would think they'd be, quote, desensitized to people. No, no. Listen, okay? I've had people wear different backpacks, have different things dangling off of it down there. And remember, I'm on the canyon side. It's a mile down there. They're on the mountainside. So I have to be really on my toes. I have to be ready. So when my mule elevates his head, what is that? What is that? And Dave, I have seen some crazy things at the canyon. Yeah, you wouldn't believe some things I've seen. Anyway, when they do that, they elevate their head. Now, what is that? I roll my hands, roll my hands, roll my hands. Now, it's important the type of bit that you use if you're doing some training. And that's another whole story. There you are, Dave.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Appreciate that. That was from Clay. Hannah is watching from Dunellen, Florida. 68, beautiful. God bless America. Lane says mules are not stubborn. The mule is waiting for the human to catch on. That's a good
Good for
t-shirt
you,
right
Lane.
there. That's a good t-shirt. Merlin is watching from a cold and snowy northern Minnesota. I'm a little late, but better late than never. You said it, Merlin. Glad to have you here. Sharon is watching in Virginia. Mammoth Jenny loves to walk in the edge of the pond. That's not good for her hooves, is it?
No, it's okay. Yeah, the mud and this sort of thing gets packed up in there, but there's nothing wrong with that. That's just fine. It's when you are in a corral and you have a lot of urine and this sort of thing, and you get packed up in there, and you can get a lot of bacteria. Now, I tell you what I do to get them to move their manure pile or their urination pile, because a lot of times they'll urinate right in front of the gate where you're going to go in and out. So I'll take an old car tire and I'll put over top of that, and they will move their spot to go pee in, and then you can kind of take that tire to move them around. That works good. So no, actually moisture is good for a donkey. Not a lot of it now, but you want to trim. You always want to keep your donkey's hoof trimmed short, because otherwise, that the way a donkey's hoof is, that mud packs up in there.
Awesome. Okay. Beth is watching from Adelaide and Murray Bridge on my way to work. 32 degrees Celsius and sunny. Nice to be going to the work in the office. My mule reminds me why I work. Good to have you here, Beth. She's watching from South Australia, which means we've gone international again. Dave says, Steve, what is a night latch? What are the specifications for one?
Is this Dave O'Brien?
It is Dave O'Brien.
All right, so a night latch. Dave, that's probably something we should do for the webinar. Okay, so a night latch is a strap that goes around the pommel and it sticks up in the air. And when I've when they get to bucking and jumping, I reach down, get a hold of that latch, and put myself deep in the saddle and hold on to it until they get done making their jumps. I usually use a hobble strap. I make hobble straps out of four braids of an old lariat rope, and do a square braid. It really makes a nice hobble strap that I hang on my shaft. But that's another story. But that's what it is. It's a way to be able to grab. Uh, a lot of people grab the horn, but that doesn't hold you in place. But it's a strap right on the pommel. Hey, on my website is where my original saddle is, Dave, the Trail Light saddle, and it's got a night latch on there. Do you think you might have that picture?
Yeah, give me a second here. I'll pull it up. Uh, it's the Trail Light saddle. Okay, I got that.
See my saddle?
And let me see if I can zoom in here.
Well, okay, but that's not my saddle. I need a picture of my personal saddle.
Oh, your personal saddle.
Sorry, pardon me. There's a picture of it in there,
Yeah, okay.
and it should
Yeah,
show the
okay, here we
pommel.
go. It's a small picture. Let's see if we can get this to work.
Okay, you see that strap there? That's on the right hand side of my horn. That's a Trail Light saddle, folks, and you can see that hobble. That's actually a rope hobble that I use, and I'll tie it on there because it sticks up pretty good, and I can grab that night latch, and that does a good job of keeping me in a place. That's my Trail Light saddle, folks. That's the original one that I had started on 15 years ago, and you can see I flat I'm not very nice to my saddles. See that night latch, Dave?
Yeah,
Everybody
I
see
see
that?
that. I see that. That's great. Awesome. I'm glad that he asked that question. That's something new to me too. All right, let's see here. Next question. This one comes in from Ben. Ben says, I'm looking to buy 2 mules in the near future and a horse trailer with living quarters to be able to take them on trips with me and my wife. I have zero experience with any equestrian animal in a trailer, and I'm looking for any pointers anyone has. Me and my wife have talked about taking them across country out west to ride with them at places like the Grand Canyon, but that is literally a day drive. How would I go about hauling them in 24 hours? Obviously, we have trailer video, Steve. But in addition to that, do you want to share with Ben any insights you have?
Well, Ben or anybody, Ben, when you go to get yourself a trailer, always think that you probably could go sometimes and have friends with you. I know we used to go and have another couple with us. So we bought a four-stall trailer, four stalls, okay? And they're slanted stalls, and you can go in and put your mules in there. That way, it gives them plenty of room. The nice thing about that, too, if you decide to just have two mules only, you can take out one of the dividers and give the mules more room. That you don't need to take them out like some people do. Don't do that. I can tell you some horror stories of people thought they'd take their nice little mule out and let him go out and kind of stretch his legs and he'll be fine. No, no, folks. These new trailers we got ride really nice. Okay. You cannot believe how good they ride. So, and don't feed them in the trailer. Oh my goodness. I can't, it's mules cannot throw up. Okay. So they end up gagging and end up, believe it or not, dying even in some cases because they can't throw up and they can't get it to go down. So you don't need a feed bag in a trailer. They don't need to eat. They don't need to drink. Just put them on the road. Now, I can tell you that I have had times to where I have driven, 12 hours, 14 hours, and offered the mules a drink at time from time, but only a drink. But here's the other thing that I do ahead of time, a couple days ahead of time, is I make sure I give them electrolytes, okay, for dehydration. Mules are notorious of dehydrating. They're notorious for it. So you want to start giving them electrolytes. I like to give them the paste for them to put in the mouth. Start giving them electrolytes a couple days ahead of time so that you can start preparing them for the trip. And then when they do put water down in front of them, they'll go to drinking. They don't need to eat, folks. Okay, they'll be just fine to miss a meal. Most of your mules are too fat, just like you anyway. There you are, Dave.
It's awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that. Hope that helps, Ben. Steve, I had a question. We've had folks talk time to time about mules trying to kick them and mules actually making contact and kicking people. What I haven't asked is just outright, when your mule tries to kick you, what should your response be? When they're going to kicking after you, what should your response be?
I tell you what, there's nothing that irritates me more than a mule that'll try to kick at me or bite me. You know what, Dave? That's very intentional. They are wanting to hurt you. All right? They are trying to tell you, get out of my space. And when you have one that wants to bite you or one that wants to kick at you, then you're going to come unglued. And I can tell you that I especially have a way that I do this. I'll put the come along hitch on him, and then I'll take him and take a long buggy whip, and I'll intentionally go down by their rear leg with that buggy whip, and I've got my come along rope ready. And as soon as they kick at it, then I hit them with the come along hitch. Okay, now I want you to see this. I'm actually late because they've already kicked. So you need to be before that when they're thinking about kicking you. All right. And how do you do that? When they throw an ear toward it, okay, or when they throw an eye toward it, or that whip. If they even do that just the slightest, you hit them with the come along rope. The come along rope pretty much is your communicator. I don't mind that type of thing that you're doing, or I want you to quit doing it. And that come on rope, when you bump their nose, tells them you are not happy with their idea of kicking at you. Now they'll do it a lot of times to get you to be the bottom part of the pecking order, and they'll do it sometimes just because they're just mean. And that's when I pull the trigger on them. I will not put a mule out there that's going to hurt someone. All right, intentionally. They can hurt someone unintentionally. That's given. But when one tries to hurt you, biting you or kicking you, I will come unglued on them. Okay, And I'm the first one that'll tell you I don't mind pulling the trigger.
That's good. Awesome. I appreciate that. Jim is watching from Western Maryland, 15 degrees, snow. Lat B, I made it. There you go. He made it. Late, but I made it. I'm guessing is what you meant to say. Good to have you here, Jim. Steve O'Brien or Dave O'Brien says, Steve. Oh, we already asked that one. What is a night latch? I got them mixed up here, so we're good on that one. I'll go to the next one. Let's see here. Lou has the question. We have a wild mule that someone agreed to take. They're coming with a trailer to take her on the weekend. There will be 4 of us. My main concern is no one getting kicked. I feed her, and she often kicks at me when I throw hay over the fence. Even it's a deadly kick. I hate equine, and I've already been kicked once. It required knee surgery. How can we go about catching this mule and putting it in a trailer safely? So this is on the heels of our conversation about trailer and our conversation about kicking.
Yeah, so you get one like that has learned to get around you. You stay as far away from that thing as you can. Back the trailer up to the gate of the corral. Open the trailer up, the gate up, okay, and then open the gate up to the horse to your corral. The one in the corral opens up to the trailer. The one in the trailer opens up to the corral. Okay, so that you create kind of a runway, and then you get behind it with a buggy whip. Don't get in the corral, but get behind it with a buggy whip from outside. But put a person on each side and start whacking that thing with a buggy whip and get it to go inside of there. Okay, that's about the only thing I can tell you without me being there. Is you need to back it up to the corral gate and run him in there, and then have somebody close the gate really quick.
Yeah, don't mess around with them when they've got that type of. Well, this is what we talk about, Steve. Folks always want to know. They're always asking, what do I look for when I buy a mule? What do I want in a mule? What do I want my mule to be like? What should I be paying attention to? And that's why we say disposition first, conformation second, and then training third. Of course, there is no training, but there is ground foundation, which if they can, in a 10-foot circle, turn on the forehand, turn on the hindquarters, side pass, back up, then that is a foundation you can build upon. That's the training we're talking about. But disposition first, because it sounds like there's really not much you can do here with an animal that has this type of an attitude.
Yeah, I tell you, Dave, I've done it a lot of different ways. I've roped them and got that rope. I could choke them down a little bit, run the rope through the trailer, and then literally and then daddle it up to my mule and literally drag them into the trailer. Now I've done the same thing with cattle, Dave. But there's folks. I I've got 32 broken bones and 2 replaced hips, simply because it's not an easy thing to be around an equine. All right, it's not an easy thing. So something like this here, if you try to stay far away from the animals as possible, and whoever's going to be there, okay, you let them handle it, put that mule in there, and go from there.
Folks, we're doing really great on time. I have a few more questions here, but if you've got any questions, these are questions that came in ahead of time. So if you've got any questions, put them in the comment section, and we'll do our best to make sure you get the answers you need. And hey, David Sholl here is watching here. Good morning. It's hot and very humid here in Queensland, Australia. Good to have you here. Marsha is watching from Virginia. Been trimming the tree. Next question was sent in from Homer. He says, my thoroughbred is so terrified of my new donkey that he jumped out the pasture, but the donkey is the sweetest, most loving guy. I don't want to get rid of him. Any tips for overcoming this? I'm hoping my horse will get used to the donkey and I won't have to rehome the donkey.
Do yourself and rehome the horse. Anyway, here's the deal, folks. I can tell you that years ago, when I used to go to shows with my mules, I scared the heck out of horses. I had people actually ask me to get my mule and go someplace else with it because it was scaring their horses. And that happens a lot, okay? Now, a lot of people will buy a donkey or another animal to be a pasture pet, okay? A friend. Don't do that. They don't need another animal. And if the horse is scared of the donkey, get rid of the horse. I'd rather have the donkey anyway.
There we go. Not so subtle opinion. Let's see here. This is from Miss Washington. I have 2 donkeys and I want to get a mini horse or a pony. Will a mini horse or pony pair well with the donkeys? Or should we get multiple horses so they don't feel lonely? We also have goats and pigs if that matters.
Well, most of the time you're going to see the donkeys off by themselves, horses off by themselves, folks, most of the time. On a rare occasion, you'll have donkeys and horses getting together, and they do, okay. But usually, I'm going to tell you anyway, because this is the way I like to live. I like to have my donkeys all in a separate stall, my mules all in a separate stall. That way, they get feed correctly, they get fed correctly. They can drink water correctly. You can keep an eye on their health. They don't need to all be together. They don't need to be together, folks. It doesn't work out. I can tell you, well, I just come from Arkansas here 2 months ago, and Steve Ham had a really nice old horse. He'd been one of the best horses that they had. And unfortunately, he went and they put their horses all together for a short time, and they ended up having some big vet bills. Folks, you can't do that. Matter of fact, this one horse, I'm sorry to say, they ended up putting it down, okay, because it got kicked so bad. So they don't need to be in stalls out by themselves, okay. I mean, all together. They need to be in separate stalls together.
Marsha says, sounds like an open jumper. Yeah. Let's see here. This one came in. They didn't share their name, but they're asking about a blanket with it getting colder. Mr. Bob is getting old. He's a little over 30 years old. His teeth are getting. as, as I'm reading this, for some reason, the way it's giving me the giggles. I'm just thinking about sitting down, opening up a book, and reading to my 7-year-old. Mr. Bob is getting old. He's a little over 30 years old. His teeth are getting bad, and he's losing some weight. And it just gave me the giggles. Okay. All right. I'll bring
Yeah,
it back. I'm sorry. I was having a moment there, Steve.
I can. Yeah, I understand. Okay.
All right. Mr. Bob's getting old. He's a little over 30 years. His teeth are getting bad, and he's losing some weight. I have him on a higher fat diet as winter comes on. I know that he won't live forever, but my hope is he'll get through this winter. I have had this rescue donkey for 10 years. We live in southwest Washington State. I want to get him a winter blanket, but I'm having bad luck with sizes. They are all too big. What size winter blanket should I get for this old guy?
I personally would not put any blankets on them. Okay, I've been up in Montana at 20 below hunting with my mules, and I've tried the blanket stuff, and literally the blankets are so stiff they stand up by themselves, can stand up by themselves. I just let nature take its course. Okay, as far as old Bob, the older they get, the more teeth they're going to lose, and the harder it is to keep any kind of weight on them. Feed them roughage. Now, I don't usually say this, folks, but take and feed the mule, the old horse, any alfalfa hay you can feed him, because he needs the carbohydrates in order to maintain.
Now, why do you hate saying feed them roughage, Steve? You got to clarify.
No, I don't mind feeding them roughage. I don't like them feeding alfalfa hay, but in this case, we got an old horse, and his urinary tract is already a mess, probably anyway. And so that's the problem with alfalfa. Feeding a lot of alfalfa to a horse or an equine is really bad on their urinary tract. But when they're that old, you're more interested in maintaining their health, and they need roughage, okay, in order to be able to warm up. And that's the nice thing about feeding a type of hay, especially like alfalfa, that will warm them up. Okay, you're going to have a problem no matter what, because trying to keep an old equine up in weight is next to impossible.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Let's see. Linda says, my 2.5 Molly, my 2.5-year-old Molly chases the baby donkey when he goes through the fence occasionally, but horses don't get excited. So commenting there on the message that we got from, I think it was Homer. Edna is watching from Spring Hill, Florida, where it's 57 and cold. Let's see here. The next question, this one was sent in by Rue, says, it may be a while till it happens, but I would like to get a donkey. I feel I need to start learning, but what's the best thing I can do right now? I still live in the city and I just can't have one yet. Ultimately, I want to ride. I'm 5'7", 160. I train dogs, never horses or donkeys. How can I get my foot in the door?
Well, just start watching the videos. There's all kinds of trainers out there. There's all kinds of information. Go out and listen to them. See who makes the most sense to you, and whoever makes the most sense to you, start using their techniques. That's the best thing I can tell you to do.
So I'll add to that because I did not grow up around equine. I don't spend time around equine even now, other than the time that we spend together here and then answering questions and watching videos and things like that. But I would say I'm in your exact same place, Rue. Live in the city. I'm 5'9". I'm heavier than 160 pounds, but God willing, I'll get it back down. But I'm very very similar to you. I've spent a lot of time around dogs, but and worked on training my own dog, but not horses. And I will tell you the thing that was most helpful for me when Steve and I started this all these years ago was not being afraid to ask any type of question. And if there was anything that Steve said that I didn't understand, and I still try to do it now, I try to remember what it was like when I was learning, and I try to make sure to ask that question. So you'll notice just a few moments ago, Steve said something about roughage and alfalfa. Now I knew the reason why we wouldn't feed the alfalfa to a healthy animal, a younger animal, is because it's so hot and because it's rich in carbohydrates and because it's just going to shoot them off like a rocket. But I went ahead and said for everybody else, Steve, why wouldn't you want to feed them that roughage or the alfalfa? And Steve corrected me. I would feed them roughage, but I wouldn't do one that's alfalfa that's going to be real rich in carbohydrates. So 10 years ago, I'd ask the question, well, why wouldn't you feed alfalfa? And I wouldn't know the answer. Now, I would feel that there would be people on this program who all knew the answer. That's not true, but that's how I felt. And so I would ask that question knowing that, hey, maybe this answer is just for me, but I need to know it because I understood 90% of what he said, but he used a word that I don't know what that means. And if I don't ask right now, I'm not going to get the benefit of the whole answer. So I would say that to you, Rue, and to anybody out there who is wanting to learn, don't stop shy of asking whatever question you've got that comes up next. One answer is going to lead to another question, and that answer is going to lead to another question. And the second you stop asking questions is the second you sell yourself short and you sell your animal short because you are only getting part of the answer. And so I think that's probably been the biggest difference maker for me, Steve, is to not be ashamed or embarrassed or worried about what other people would think if I ask a question that maybe everybody in their world in the world would know, right? Like if someone says you keep them in their own 10 by 20 stall. Well, if you don't know what the word stall means, ask, what do you mean by stall? Chances are you know what a stall is, you just never heard it called a stall before, and now you're able to put it together. Anything else you would add to that, Steve?
No, that's perfect there, Mule Guy. That's why you got the designation Mule Guy. You're no longer Dave Shrine. You are the Guru Mule Guy.
The mule guy. It's funny. So someone who works with me, I've worked with her all the way since back in 2009. Her name's Barb. Barb, hi. I love you so much. You're awesome. We were talking on the phone on Monday, and we were talking about different work, and she goes, "You're the mule guy now," because every single week she watches these programs. And Daniel, if you're watching, Barb is the one that goes in and she adds the time markers, she adds the chapter names, so the chapter markers and the chapter names, and then she puts all the links to the relevant products or articles so that people who are watching on the replay can go back in. And she goes, Steve's calling you the mule guy now. She's like, so that's what I'm going to call you, the mule guy. So that was real fun. I really enjoyed that. Hey, Steve, that's all the questions we got for the day, but I had some real cool photos come over that you sent me, and I wanted to see if you'd take a minute to explain them to us. Can I throw these pictures up here?
Yeah, let's do it. All righty. Hey, I tell you what, this little gal is 83 years old, and I met her up in Montana. I know in Idaho. Bonnie Fox is her name, and she rides this little mule all over the place. And she's 83, folks, and she's ridden this mule. She just come back from Utah riding in Zion, and she rides and rides and rides and rides and rides, and she's ridden this little mule in my saddle for over 10 years. Great gal. So, folks, don't think you're ever going to quit riding. Don't quit riding. See, there she is in Zion. She has competed in different mule events and this sort of thing, and she just rides all over the place. And she's been in my saddle. She said, "Oh, what a comfortable saddle." But anyway, Bonnie, I just happened to she happened to visit with me the other day on the phone, and it's great. I love to hear these folks saying, "I'm enjoying my mule," and I enjoy your tack.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, and here we got one more. Let's throw this one up too. This was Jane. Jane sent this in.
Yeah, here she is riding a fine little mule, and she said in the email that she sent, most comfortable saddle she's ever been in, and her mule rides all over. You can see there, she's up on the flat, pretty tough side of a mountain there, enjoying her mule. And folks, that's what you want to do. Okay, you didn't get these mules to be pestered every day and to have to go, oh, I don't like this mule. No, the idea is to escape this lousy world that we live in and go in and enjoy life. And you can't do that if you don't spend some time with them. Okay, and it doesn't have to be in the saddle. I can tell you, like Bonnie Fox, when I first met her in Idaho, she was having a tough time, but she was more thinking about riding than she was on the groundwork. And when we got her doing groundwork, man, she started rocking and rolling. And now 10 years later, look at her. She's riding all over the place.
That's awesome. Now, folks, we want to do more of this. I think it would be really, really fun to feature more of what you guys are doing, where y'all are riding, and give us a window. We give you a window every single Tuesday into what's going on with us and into what we're working on, and then the conversations we're having. We would love to have a window into what's going on with you. So I'm going to get a page set up where you can submit some photos, and we'll talk about them. We'll share them here on the program. But in the meantime, if you want to send a message to me, support@muleranch.com, and just say, hey, Dave, here's some photos for you to talk about on the next broadcast, that would be a lot of fun. It sure would be cool to let others in on what you're doing, and you can really inspire some folks. You get in front of the right person. Of course, you got the lady who we just, what was her name? She was 83?
Yeah, that's Bonnie Fox.
Bonnie. You get Bonnie sharing that, hey, I'm 83 years old and I'm not letting life slow me down, and that can inspire somebody else who's feeling, well, maybe I'm too past my prime to do this. And Bonnie says, heck no. She says, if you're past your prime, that means I'm past my prime, and I don't think Bonnie is letting anyone tell her she is past her prime. She's living in it, and so your pictures can inspire someone else to get out there and do something maybe they've wanted to do their entire life, and that's what we hope to do. If you send some photos in. So send them in, support@muleranch.com. Hey, Steve, before we go, I just want to remind folks that this month, golly, we're in December. In a couple weeks, December 18th, we're hosting our next online clinic. This one is how to train your own mule or donkey. You are more qualified than you think, folks. You can get out there and get the results that you're looking for, and you don't have to be dependent upon anyone else. And we're going to show you how you can do it. So I'm going to put a link in the comment section. Make sure you get registered for that. Steve, anything you want to say before we're all done here?
Yeah. Hey, I got to do a shout out to David Sholl there in Australia. I don't know. I get a little bit of Facebook from him once in a while, and he's turning out some awesome, incredible baby mules. Oh, man, he's got an eye for him. He's got a good jack, and he's breeding good mares, and he's got some awesome mules come up. Let me tell you, Australia, you have got a quality mule breeder there, and quality animals. So, folks, I want you to look at that. Dave was just a worm farmer a couple years ago, you all, and he's doing it all himself. Yeah. Now, has he done AI work? Yeah, when he was doing dairy and this sort of thing, but still, he's now is the #1 producer of mules in Australia. All right. And all he did was just start doing his groundwork, start figuring things out. He's been here a couple times, done some training, and now look where he is. Congratulations, Dave and Di. I hope you all have a great year. Hey, Dave, we'll see you later, buddy. Mule guy.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Take care. It's good to have you here. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Let's make the month of December incredible. Can't wait to hear from you. God bless. We'll see you next week.